Hi, my name is Pratik, and today I'll be talking about our work on blazing fast OT for 3-round UC-OT extension. This is a joint work with my supervisor, Professor Ram Kaneti from Boston University, and our collaborator, Xia Wang from Northwestern University. So today we will talk about secure two-party computation. In a secure two-party computation protocol, there are two parties who have their inputs x and y. Those are their private inputs. They want to compute some function f on the private inputs. So they perform that by performing a protocol pipe. At the end of the protocol, the parties output the protocol output. Now the protocol has to satisfy a few properties. The first one is correctness, that is the function output should be same as the protocol output. The protocol pi should not leak anything about x and y except the output, that is the security requirement, that is the informal security requirement. Also, when the parties are maliciously corrupted, we need something called well-definedness for the inputs, that is the input of the malicious parties should be well defined inside the protocol and they should be extractable. So the papers of Yao and GMW, that is Goldreich, Micali and Winterson, they presented the first few protocols for secure two-party computation. The work of Yao presented a two-party computation protocol based on the concept of cobbling. There are two parties. The first party is a cobbler, the second party is an evaluator. So the cobbler has input x and the evaluator has an m-bit input which is y. Now the cobbler computes a gobble circuit which computes a function f. This function takes input x and y, so the gobble circuit also takes input x and y, and the gobble circuit has input wire labels corresponding to x and y. Now the cobbler sends the wire labels corresponding to his input, that is Lx prime, and the evaluator obtains the input wire labels corresponding to her input through something called an OT. Now she runs an OT protocol for each of her input bits. At the end, she obtains a gobble circuit from the gobbler, the input wire labels corresponding to the gobbler's input, and the wire labels corresponding to Y. Finally, she computes a gobble circuit using the input wire labels to obtain the protocol output, which is the gobble circuit output, and that is same as the function output. Now it can be seen that the OTs are required for each input wire label for the evaluator. Now the cost of the protocol is the cost of the cobbling scheme plus the cost of the MOTs. Now we know that the cobbling schemes can be done efficiently from symmetric primitives based on one-way functions. So the major overhead in this Yao cobbling scheme protocol is the overhead of computing MOTs. And I would like to point out that Yao scheme is still very much prevalent in today's world. Like in today's MPC domains, Yao scheme is one of the major domains of MPC. Also, OT protocol has other applications. First is private set intersection, then you have interactive zero knowledge, and many more. So let's see what is an OT protocol. In an OT protocol, there's a sender who has two input bit strings M0 M1, and there's a receiver who has a choice bit P. Now the receiver inputs B to the OT functionality and the sender inputs M0 M1 to the OT functionality. Now the receiver obtains MB, that is the message according to her choice. Now the security description requires that the sender should not know what is B and the receiver should not know M1 minus B. Also, we consider malicious corruptions of the parties. In that situation, we require that the inputs of the maliciously corrupted parties are well defined inside the protocol. So how do we define well-definedness? So for that, we require there exists a simulator who can extract a corrupt sender's input M0 M1 when the sender is maliciously corrupted, and if the receiver is maliciously corrupted, then the receiver's input can also be extracted. Also in this work, we only consider static corruption, that is the parties are corrupted at the beginning of the protocol. So OT is a very useful primitive because it is known that it is complete for MPC and it has many other applications. But there's a catch to it. OTs requires expensive public key operations. You cannot obtain them only from symmetric key operations. However, in practice, OTs are generally used in large quantities. That is, you need MOTs for gobbling, and similarly, in every application you require a large number of OTs. So it makes sense that you want to amortize the cost of generating large number of OTs. That is, given a very small number of OTs and some very cheap symmetric key encryption or symmetric key operations, you generate large number of OTs. That is, the cost of each small number of OT, the public key operations, get amortized over those large number. So at the end, each amortized OT can be generated solely based on symmetric key operations in an amortized setting. This was exactly what was proposed by the work of Beaver and IKNP, and it was termed OT extension. In an OT extension protocol, the parties generate M extended OTs from K seed OTs and inexpensive symmetric key operations. You can consider K as a security parameter, which is 256, and M to be some concrete value as 10,000 or 1 million, something like that. Now the amortized cost for each extended OT is just symmetric key operations. There's no public key operations in the amortized cost. The structure of an OT extension looks something like this. So the sender has M pairs of messages as input and the receiver has M choice bits. They run K parallel seed OTs and some extra symmetric key encryptions through some sub-protocols for the OT extension, and at the end they obtain M extended OTs. Currently there are three domains of OT extension protocols. The first one is the Beaver's OT extension protocol, which obtains a 2-round OT extension protocol, and I would like to say that 2-round is round optimal for OT extension and even for OT. Now the Beaver's OT protocol is a theoretically feasible result because it requires Garble circuit and non-black box usage of PRG. Next, we have the recent result by Silent OT extension people. It is a 2-round OT extension protocol which performs very well in high latency networks because they have sublinear communication, but in the LAN setting where the network delay is not that high, the protocol does not perform that well compared to the third domain, which is the IKNP domain or the malicious counterpart, that is the KOS domain. So the IKNP protocol or the KOS protocol is a 3-round OT extension protocol which is very efficient and it is the most widely used in practice. So in this work we will try to obtain seed OT protocols or the base OT protocols for this KOS OT extension protocol. We consider the situation where the number of seed OTs is K and the number of extended OTs is 2K. That is, the number of extended OTs is not that huge. Such a situation arises when the parties want to compute an AES circuit where the number of input bits are not that huge. In such a situation, let the cost of each seed OT be COT, then the amortized cost of each extended OT comes out to be COT divided by 2. Then the high computation and communication cost of each seed OT results in expensive extended OTs, and this was empirically verified by the work of WRK, Wang, Rendeluke and Katz, who showed that 55% of the time is spent in computing seed OT in the WAN setting. Thus, it makes sense to improve the seed OT, which would improve the overall computation time of the protocol. I would also like to talk about the ground complexity of OT extension protocols, especially the KOS OT extension protocol. Currently, the seed OT protocols that are used in the KOS OT extension are used in a black box way. In doing so, they add an extra round to the OT extension protocol. Basically, if the seed OT protocol requires n rounds, then the KOS OT extension protocol requires n plus 1 rounds. And this was showed by the work of Garg, Mahmoudi, Mesni and Meckler, which said that if one uses an n round seed OT protocol in a black box way and some symmetric key primitive in a black box fashion, then one can get n plus 1 round OT extension. And if one uses n round seed OT protocol along with non-black box access with symmetric key primitives, only then they can get n round OT extension. So we circumvent the above bound using non-black box usage of our seed OT protocol. So we obtain n round seed OT protocol, and our OT extension protocol is also n rounds. In this work, we focus on improving the performance of the KOS OT Extension protocol by proposing a new efficient seed OT protocol. More specifically, we obtained a 3-round seed OT protocol which is secure based on the computational assumption of CDH, that is computational Diffie-Hellman, and the security of our seed OT protocol holds in the non-programmable observable random oracle model, and our seed OT protocol computes 3 exponentiation for each OT, and we preserve the round complexity of the KOS OT extension protocol. That is, even though our seed OT protocol requires 3 rounds, the KOS OT extension obtained after applying our seed OT is 3 rounds. This circumvents the impossibility result of GMM18, which I mentioned in the previous slide, by using the seed OT in a non-black box fashion, and the resulting OT extension protocol is also proven to be UC secure in the observable random oracle model. So let me compare our protocol with state-of-the-art protocols which are used as seed OTs. The state-of-the-art OT protocols are mainly UC OT protocols which add an extra round to the OT extension protocol. That is, if the OT protocol requires n rounds, then the resulting KOS OT extension requires n plus 1 rounds. So now coming to complexity, so there's 2 works, one by Shao on Landy and another one by Dorner, Cont, Lee, Shalat. So they require 3 exponentiations, which is the same as our OT protocol, but they have a huge round complexity. That is, they require 4 rounds for the simplest OT, and the Dorner, Cont, Lee, Shalat work requires 6 rounds. Then there's work on round optimal UC-OT protocols by Masny Rindal and Kennedy Sarkar Wang. They obtain 2-round UC secure OT protocols from DDH in the programmable random oracle model, and they have higher computation cost. That is, they require 5 and 6 exponentiations respectively. So Masny and Rindal also has an instantiation from a non-standard assumption called interactive DDH. Under that assumption, they require 4 exponentiations. In contrast, we aim at reducing the exponentiation cost as well as preserve the round complexity of the KOS OT extension. So we obtain a OT extension protocol which requires 3 exponentiations, and it preserves the round complexity of the KOS, and it is under weaker computational and setup assumptions. So in the next half of the talk, I will concentrate on technical details of our protocol. So first I will discuss the KOS OT extension protocol. In the KOS OT extension protocol, there's a sender KOS and the receiver KOS. The sender KOS has m pairs of messages and the receiver has m choice bits. Now the sender KOS samples a random k bit vector S, and they run the k seed OTs where the sender of the KOS behaves as the receiver of the seed OTs. Now they run a correlated OT generation phase, and then for each extended OT they obtain correlated random pads, which is Qj is equal to Tj XOR Bj dot with S. That is, assuming Bj is equal to 0, then Qj is equal to Tj, and the receiver also obtains this T1 to Tm. So if the receiver's input choice bit is 0, then Qj is equal to Tj, and the sender encrypts his message as hash invoked on j comma tj XOR mj comma 0 and hash invoked on j comma tj XOR s XOR mj comma 1. Now the receiver of KOS, he outputs mj comma 0 as zj comma 0 XOR hash of j comma tj. Now the other message zj comma 1 remains hidden because s is hidden from the receiver. So let's look at the situation when the sender of the KOS protocol is corrupt. In such a situation, the simulator simulates the role of the receiver. The simulator can simulate by setting all the choice bits to 0, and then he computes the seed OTs using the honest receiver protocol. At the end of the honest receiver protocol, he obtains the T1 to Tm. Then he obtains ZJ0 and ZJ1 from the corrupt sender. Then he extracts S from the seed OTs using the OT simulator. Finally, he can extract both MJ0 and MJ1 given the knowledge of S. Now we can see that S is required only for extracting the inputs of the corrupt sender after the last message of the OT extension protocol is sent. It is not really essential for simulating the base OT protocols. In such a situation, we can add a third message to the OT extension protocol, which is the third message of the seed OT, and the S can be extracted from the third message of the seed OT. We don't need to extract the S from the first message or the second message of the seed OT protocol. So this gives us an efficient seed OT protocol, which we will see later on. So based on these observations, we formulate a weaker OT that is sufficient for the KOS OT extension protocol. So based on the previous observations, we obtain a 3-round seed OT protocol which is parallelizable with KOS. That is, it is KOS friendly, and the input of a corrupt receiver in the seed OT or the corrupt sender of the KOS can be extracted from the last message of the OT protocol. The first message of the OT protocol does not need to be extractable. Then the security of the OT protocol should hold only for a batch of K seed OTs together. So obtaining security for individual OT is much more expensive than obtaining security for K seed OTs together. Also, the work of Doyner et al. Showed that the seed OTs can allow selective failure attack. And finally, we show in our paper that the seed OTs can satisfy indistinguishability based security instead of UC security, and that suffices for proving that the overall OT extension protocol is UC secure. Now I will try to build our seed OT protocol incrementally. So there's the sender of KOS who behaves as the receiver of the seed OT, and there's the receiver of the KOS who behaves as the sender of the seed OT. Now the receiver of the seed OT has k bit inputs S1 to Sk. He samples a random seed, then he obtains a random pad by invoking a random oracle on the seed. Then he samples 2 public keys for each ith seed OT such that he knows the secret key for PKI-SI, that is the SIth public key, and the other public key is chosen as U divided by PKI-SI. That is, the 2 public keys when multiplied should result in U. Then he sends the seed and the PKI0. Then the other party computes U. He computes PKI1 from U and PKI0. Then the sender of the OT protocol samples 2 random pads, PI0 and PI1. Then he encrypts those random pads under the PKI0 and PKI1 values. Then he encrypts his messages AI0 and AI1 by invoking the random oracle on those random pads. Finally, he sends the encrypted random pads and the encrypted messages to the receiver of the seed OT protocol. The receiver of the seed OT protocol decrypts the random pad corresponding to his choice bit SI, that is, he obtains PISI by decrypting CISI using the secret key, and then he decrypts AISI from ZISI and PISI. There's a problem in this 2-round seed OT protocol. Consider the situation that the receiver of the OT protocol is corrupt. In such a situation, his first message, that is seed, PKI0, perfectly hides his choice bit SI. So in such a situation, his choice bit cannot be extracted from the first message of the OT. So there has to be some way by which we can extract this S from the receiver. We extract the receiver's input by incorporating a challenge response phase. That is, the sender of the OT protocol, he constructs a challenge that the receiver knows the secret key for each ith OT. He constructs a challenge and he also constructs a proof that the challenge is valid. He sends this challenge and proof to the receiver along with the second OT message. Now the receiver of the OT protocol, he computes the response for the challenge because he has the secret key. So he computes the correct response and he also verifies the proof using the response. And then if the proof is valid, then he sends the response. And the sender of the OT protocol, he verifies the response, and based on that, he either outputs a bot or he outputs OK. So it can be seen that the receiver message can be used to extract S. That is, the last message of the receiver, which is a response, can be used to extract S. So this is exactly what we do in our OT extension protocol, where the last message of the seed OT is used to extract S, and then the OT extension protocol is simulated using the knowledge of S. So our challenge proof trick works for batch of k seed OTs when considered together, and we require only random oracle queries, that is only symmetric key operations without any public key operations. Also, we reuse the randomness for the ciphertext to obtain 3 exponentiations per OT. So this gives us our efficient 3-round seed OT protocol, which requires only 3 exponentiations and which is the most efficient seed OT protocol for KOS, and it preserves the round complexity of the KOS OT protocol. Finally, I would like to end with some open questions. So we obtained efficiency OT protocols in the random oracle model. So it would be interesting to obtain similar efficiency OT protocols in the CRS model. The currently best known COT protocols in the CRS model require 8 exponentiations due to Scanetti, Sarkar and Wang. Also, it would be interesting to obtain COT protocols which are efficient for silent OT domain. So we considered only the KOS of the IKNP domain. Finally, a theoretical open question is to obtain adaptively secure OT extension protocols which do not rely on random oracles. The currently known protocols are only in the static corruption setting. Thank you. So here are the references.